Hello and welcome to the Car Podcast with Chris Harris and his friends. It's the end of a working day and sometimes we're not at our sharpest. This is episode 81. Two of my learned friends have helped me here with information pertaining to the significance of that number. 1981 was when Duran Duran released their first single, Planet Earth. That was from Manish Pandey. Neil Clifford then climbed in with 81 could be 81 on a W or an X. Chris Cooper told me, for now, that's 69 plus 12. Which I think
goodness
is frankly grotty. And we've got to get over it, Chris, haven't we?
Why?
Good.
Why?
Right. Moving on to our agenda this week. What have you done in cars recently? Which is normally endemic of the fact that we've not had much time to think of any agenda for this week.
Yeah.
It's a broad brush question that allows us to just demonstrate what a colourful world we have in our relationship with the motor car. Let's go first with Neil Clifford, please.
Oh my God. I was hoping you would say Manish Pandey then, so I can figure out what I was going to say. I've done a few. Well, look, we went to Bentley. That was not this week, was it? The week before, but that was a really jolly good laugh.
Yep.
I've been finalising the design and delivery of Chris Harris on Cars T-shirts, one of which will be available, I think, from about Wednesday. And remember, chaps, there's only 100. We're only making 100 of every T-shirt, so please look out for that. The other good news is I sold my Winnebago.
No!
Yes. Now, the funny thing about this is there was only one buyer for this Winnebago.
No shit.
When it was for sale last time, and his name was Neil Clifford. So the irony of the story is when we spoke about this and the fact that Nigel, who metaphorically pulled my pants down when I bought it in the Brent Cross car park, Nigel sprung back up after listening to the podcast, and of course pulled my pants down again because I invested 14 grand in it and he's bought it off me for less than I paid for it. But,
that was only thing.
It couldn't have gone to a better owner. It's absolutely bloody fabulous. He's actually got a Ridgeback like mine. He's already taken photos in it. I don't know how he's doing that because he hasn't picked it up yet. I think the dog is AI or something. But nevertheless, Nigel, good luck with the Winnebago. And we do want a little update from you on whether that steering column is as fixed as I told you it was. So it's been quite busy, actually. Also, this is a weird situation. I haven't told anyone this story, really, apart from people at work. And I won't tell all of the story. I was playing tennis this morning, looking at my car, and there was a young man looking at my car. And then my i3 BMW, then, whether I hadn't locked the car or whether he managed to open it with one of those machines, opened the back of my car as I was playing tennis. Can you believe it? So, of course, being a very sensible chap, being brought up in Portsmouth and was used to chasing shoplifters in Woolwich in 1997, I chased him down the street in Highbury. And he stole a bag out of my car, which had a very lovely pair of shoes that I had made for a very special man that runs a Ferrari and specialist classic car pace in southwest London. And I had them signed by that wonderful person that we know who makes shoes in Ancona. So I was like, oh my God, this is going to be shit if these shoes get stolen. So off this gentleman went with his bicycle with my shoes. So I threw my tennis racket at him. Now, unfortunately, I'm quite a good shot, but I missed him. But he ducked, fell off his bike and dropped the shoes. He then zoomed off on his bicycle. God knows what he was going to do with a bright orange pair of size 12s anyway. But nevertheless, these were all scattered on the road in Highbury. I managed to pick them up. The box is a little bit dented, but nevertheless, I got the shoes back. And these shoes will be finally delivered to our lovely man of specialist car dealership in southwest London very, very soon. So that was quite an eventful morning yesterday. So I've been quite busy in cars.
Well, all I can say is
that's a true story.
that JM's going to get his shoes.
Yeah,
That's a brilliant story. And sadly, this podcast is only going downhill from here with regards to anecdotes, because that's not going to be better. The idea of you wearing your finest Boris Becker whites,
yeah,
lobbing a graphite tennis racket
yeah.
or carbon, whatever they know.
All genuine. People think that I have these sort of super weird experiences. I think we all do, but this was a weirder one than normal.
That's brilliant. That's the best story I think I've heard on this podcast.
Go on, Neil. You've just got one quick thing to add, right? Neil, who does Neil bump into this afternoon in London? You got to tell us.
Well, then I was at a lovely little meeting in a department store beginning with H, and I parked around the corner because I needed a quick escape. And I was worried about the Westway because that was bloody closed, because that's all a drama. And I need to get back to the podcast. So I parked in a quick exit street near Harrods. There was I think a Defender 4 or a Freelander or something not quite as cool as you'd like it to be, really. But anyway, F1 XXX number plate. And I'm like, oh, that's quite a cool number plate. Then Bernie Eccleston shows up. He sort of semi-recognised me and said, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, oh, Manish says hi. He said, oh, yes, I'll give him a call. And then I think you spoke to him, Manish, or maybe you had a chat. But anyway, I saw the king of F1 on my way home this afternoon.
Where are we supposed to go with this? I once had to give a best man speech on a beach in Portugal. I mean, it wasn't the best speech, and it did blow out my hands down the beach. But I had to follow the father of the groom, who gave one of the best speeches I've ever heard in my life. And I remember thinking, I'm goosed as I stood up to even say anything. And I feel like that now. Neil Clifford has stolen it there. We're going to have to work quite hard here. I'm going to throw this hospital pass to Manish. I'm basically lobbing the ball up to you at inside centre, and you've got Manu Tuolangi coming at you to clatter you, because this is a hospital pass. Manish, what have you done this week?
I've just remembered how much I used to hate rugby as a kid. I remember being sort of 5 feet, 12 years old, 5 feet 2 and about 4 stones. You know, they'd always put you in that 10 metre by 10 metre box with someone, and you'd have to tackle them. It was just mano a mano. And I was always with the 8 stone, 6 foot tall kid with big knees and big fists. That's exactly what this feels like. Actually, one serious thing I've done this week, I got a really good preview of Joe Twyman and Ronald Stern's The Art of Racing, the Helmet books.
Nice.
The double, you're not going to believe this. Do you know who's calling?
Answer it. Answer it. Go on.
Hi, Bernie. We're great. You're gonna laugh. You bumped into Neil, didn't you? Today, this afternoon, he described your car, F1 XXX, and you bumped into Neil.
I said hello to him. I was in a yellow Bentley.
He was in the yellow Bentley. It's a banana Bentley. Anyway, we do a podcast weekly, and Neil has just told 2 of the funniest stories. And I was asked to follow, and there was no way anyone could tell the stories that Neil just told that were funnier. But actually, I think this has just done it. You phoned me live on the podcast, Bernie. Yes, I'm on the podcast. They can't hear you.
On
I won't put you on speaker, because if I do, you'll get annoyed. But can I call you back right after the podcast? Okay, I'll call you back in about an hour. Ciao, ciao.
He's the king.
Okie dokie, ciao, ciao.
I definitely can't follow this.
Right, this is out of control now.
What is the probability?
Manish, I hate to say it, you win. So we don't care about the rest of your week. And I'm sure Ronald and Joe's book is brilliant and their videos, but they've had their plug. We're moving on. Cooper, what can you do?
Well, Clifford, bastard. Pandy, bastard. That's almost. I've got 2 things to say. I've got to talk about a pothole, talk about some Jaguars. Do you remember we did that emergency podcast about potholes weeks ago? And I took life and limb in my hand, and I stood down the road and sort of pointed to a little pothole on the road in Kings Langley. We all bemoaned the state of British roads. Apparently, the following day, that was a Sunday, on the Monday, one of the chaps who works in the office that I was standing by recognised the big pothole outside his office. So he took a photograph of it, sent it to the local authority and said, "What are you going to do about that?" What did they do about it that afternoon on the Monday? They only went and bloody fixed it.
Wow, that's good.
Out of the podcast.
Yeah.
But what I would like to talk about is the Great British Jaguar Day. So we announced it a couple of weeks ago. We sort of forgot to tell Jaguar we were doing it. Sort of deliberately. We thought it's our love letter to Jaguar. It's about them, not sort of them. But amazingly, the lovely people at Jaguar got in touch and they're super excited about it. And we did that, obviously that thing we did at the Classic the other weekend. So we're now long way into some amazing cars collecting together. The central display of Jaguars is going to be extraordinary. In the next few days, weeks or two, we'll start to tell you which Jags we've got coming, racing cars, classic cars, some really amazing ones that haven't been in public for a long time. I think we're going to have the best collection of Jaguars that's sort of been seen together at one time in public or in private. So there's going to be a central display of Jaguars, which is going to be fantastic. If you've got a Jaguar, bring it along. All Jaguars, we rate Jaguars, they're all 14 out of 10. They're all brilliant. If you haven't got a Jaguar, bring any car. They're 14 out of 10 as well. It's going to be wonderful. So park your cars and your Jaguars. We're going to have a little podium thing where we're going to select some cars that have arrived on the day and some other ones. And we're just going to showcase them and say, this is a 15 out of 10 Jaguar because it's really, really lovely. Especially, it could be one of yours, could be one of the special ones. We're going to have some fireside chats and be some quite, I think we can say Ian Callum's going to come, we hope. A whole bunch of other people. We'll mention some names shortly. Mr. Harris or Mr. Pandy or Mr. Clifford or me, if you're unlucky. We'll be talking to some lovely people about their Jaguars, their life in Jaguars. Really, really wonderful. There'll be a live podcast, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. So we'll be talking about Jaguar stuff, other stuff, anything takes our fancy, stuff we've seen. Everyone will get to come to a live podcast show that we do, not recorded, won't be broadcast. There'll be some fun awards. We're going to walk around with roving microphones around the car and the car parks and everywhere. And we're going to leave we might gift some of our special Jag merch to those we see, and we'll get you up on the stage and congratulate you on your Jaguar. Neil's doing some fantastic merch and some T-shirts and stuff for it. There's going to be...
there's special Jag merch coming.
Really good.
Only available at that event.
Only at that event. You've got to come, buy a ticket. There's going to be
only 100 of each,
little garden party here. We actually have got a white picket fence where you can come and have tea, put your rug out, get your deck chairs. We'll come amongst you, sort of, and we'll talk about what you're having for tea. Nice little sandwiches, lots of cake. There'll be other people there showing their cars off, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be just wonderful. The Jaguar people are amazing. They're going to bring some lovely cars along. We'll tell you more about that in the next few weeks from the Jaguar Daylem Heritage, from Classic, Jag as well. Next week, the four of us are going to Gaydon, super, super secret, to see the new amazing prototype. We're going to drive it.
Not that secret. They've already been driven.
Well, we're going to drive it.
Are we?
We're going to drive it.
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, other people have driven it. I don't like being the first. I think it's much cooler being the 8th.
We're going to do that. And we're going to do a bit of filming about that as well. So, yeah.
I'm going to be the 11th.
It's all coming together. So, links are on the YouTube or Spotify or our social media. So, 7.5 weeks ago.
Booster packs will be available.
Let me just say that rather than making a cake, I'm planning to make even though I do halo myself a bit with this, but my mango and Stilton quiche. I'm going to bring some mango and Stilton quiche.
That's the most random thing I've ever heard in my life.
Listen, Neil, I swear to God, Clement Freud, back in the day, he was the guy who first put me onto mango and Stilton cheese on toast. It's unbelievable.
The guy with the dog with the big ears.
Exactly.
No,
Yes.
he's the guy that told the greatest joke ever and then got cancelled because he got up to some bad things.
Yes, he did. He did.
Joke's still great, though.
But I swear to God, mango and Stilton quiche.
Okay,
So tasty. So tasty.
So Manish will be down the road at his own Jaguar and curry party, but you can come to Bicester and have our cake party if you want. Chris Cooper, thank you very much for all the hard work that you and your flock are putting into this event.
It's very good fun. It was really good fun. Bicester was great. It's wonderful.
Got some other surprises coming as well. It's going to be a really, really good celebration, this. Now, I've had quite a week, actually. So when you write it down, that you realise how much you've done. So a week ago, I drove back from Edinburgh in my E39 M5, and the Vanos went a bit wonky, so we had a bit of an adventure there. But that's now been fixed, and today it completed a photo shoot for the road wrap. And going back to Landau and really hammering the shit out of an E39 M5 just reminded me how utterly brilliant they are as cars. They do everything. They're comfortable and they're yobbish at the same time. We did not overrate that vehicle back in period. Some people think we did. We underrated it. So yeah. I started off doing that. Then on end of last week, I went to London on Friday to the launch of an electric van, something I've never done before. I went along with my buddy John McGuinness because one of his sponsors has launched something called the EVC City Sprint. It's an electric van for what's called the last mile delivery service. So effectively, it's they buy a lot of it in from you can imagine what country, but they assemble it in Clitheroe in the UK. I wouldn't normally go along to such an event, but because John said, "Hey up, come along," it's one of my sponsors, I actually rather enjoyed it. And it made me try and think about urban transportation a bit more. And actually, when you look, there was lots of speeches given, and most of the time I'm falling asleep. I'm not very good at that stuff. And John was making some interesting annotations to the faces on the brochure in front of us, let's say. So we were being a bit childish, and the shoulders were going with the giggles. But it did make me think, how much empty space is there in the average delivery van that's going around the place? And actually, there's a lot of stats that say that most vans only use the front seat for their deliveries. They have the parcel on the front seat, and you've got a bloody transit driving around. You don't need them to be that big for that last mile delivery. So, yeah, I went along thinking I was just going to get pissed. I came away thinking this concept of the last mile in terms of delivery is quite important to all of our lives.
It is.
That was a pause for thought. I then went to the Devonshire that afternoon where Finley served us loads of pints of Guinness. Cleared my head, woke up, went to Goodwood for a Salone track day. Bernadette put on a fantastic day, really good. And I drove the Alpha Sud that I'm going to be racing in the members meet. Flat 4, 150 horsepower, whatever they are. What a little joyous car. So obviously came home that night and spent most of the evening looking at Alpha Suds on Car Classic, which is a bit of a problem for me at the moment. I then yesterday went to the launch of the train show that I'm doing with Francis called We Save the Train, which is airing at 9 p.m. next Tuesday on Quest.
Was that like a film premiere moment, Chris?
No, it was they showed some clips, but we went to we went to the London Transport Museum, and of course they got that shop where they sell you can buy all the caps with the fabric with all the seats from the different underground lines.
Well, that's
Francis,
good.
As ever, shone with his knowledge and was mega. Oh, before that, I drove the Supercat, the TWR Supercat, at Landau. That wasn't supposed to happen. They were there, and I jumped in the thing, did a couple of laps. That was fascinating. That looked so much better than it did in the pictures. And in the pictures, I found it a bit much. But when I saw it in the raw and the V12 sound, of course, that night, you might have seen on the comments section, the Kaiser, who designed the thing, had a bit of a locked horn themes, and they had a bit of a shit fight, which is always good to watch. We like people having a shit fight. We need more shit fights. So that was good.
We hope they're bringing that car to the Great British Jaguar Day.
Yes, I'm sure they will be. And then today I drove the M5 at Landau. I mean, I've done a shit ton, but I haven't, as far as I can see, had a phone call from Bernie Eccleston. Had something stolen. Everything stolen? No, someone parked outside my unit the other week, and I used the M3 Touring to drag their car down the road. I thought I could find that quite funny.
Yeah,
leave it in the middle of the road, don't you? It's like, fuck you. And then trying to think, no, I can't beat Neil Clifford. I can't beat Manish. I've not done anything as worthy as Chris Cooper.
You've been busier. You've been busier in cars than we have, which I suppose is your job. So you should.
I've come an unworthy fourth.
No, you've been doing Chris Harris things in a Chris Harris way.
No, I'm an unworthy fourth. I doff my cap to all of your busyness. Also, one other thing, I've got a new place to store my cars. It's all secret, but there's something called the Cross Country Company, a guy called Will, and he serves the Bristol area. You can't say where they're kept, but he comes and picks them up, takes them outside Bristol, and he puts them in there. So if you've got any storage needs in my part of the world, he's bloody brilliant. I actually went and saw where the cars are stored. It's like seeing your dog has gone to a 5-star kennel run by the Ritz. What is that, Cooper?
Well, we're going to have lots of lovely cake at the Great British Jaguar Day.
A walnut cake.
I'm glad you asked me this. I feel a bit like Test Match Special. Mrs. Tyler from Harpenden has sent me a lovely coffee and walnut cake. Look at that.
Look at that.
Isn't that just oozing goodness?
That was a bloody good guess. That was a good cake guess.
Yes, very good cake.
Very good. I know a lot about cake.
Coffee and
Look at
walnut
the size
is
of
my favourite cake.
Yeah.
So
it's also the rudest looking cake.
Do you know what? I'm just going to have to it's got unctuous loveliness. I'm just going to hang on.
It looks like, let's not beat around the bush. It looks like a jobby, and it tastes like heaven, but it looks like a jobby. Right. Now we're going to move on.
Oh, dearie me.
Here we go. That was ridiculous. Car news that caught your eye this week. So let's start with Manish.
Well, look, I'm going to whiz through it. The thing for me this week was definitely the car finance business, only because we have talked about it. We've talked about it in some depth, and there was just a quote from a comment in the Financial Times saying, "That bloody Martin's going to make sure that any judge who reads it is definitely going to find in favour of the plaintiff." I mean, there was a really brilliant, angry comment, and it's kind of true, isn't it? I had to look up the word fiduciary once more. The reason being, originally people were speculating that this could be up to £40 billion of terrible mis-selling, and actually a judge did rule a year ago that car dealers do not have a fiduciary duty to their customers. In other words, car dealers do not act in the for the benefit
it's fidus,
of their
isn't it?
customers.
It's from the Latin fidus, isn't it, or something like that?
Exactly. So the bottom line is, do car dealers try to get the most money out of you that they possibly can? Do they occasionally tell semi-porkies? Do they lead you kind of, down the garden path? And the answer is probably yes, yes, yes. And I think Mr. Cooper sort of said this at the time. Occasionally there are really egregious examples of people being missold things. But actually many of these are probably not that bad. And just the two things that just caught my eye is that the ultimate settlement pending an appeal is going to be about £11 billion. And that works out, according to Martin Lewis, at £830 a claim. That's quite a lot of money. That also, and I didn't know this is a mass redress scheme. So the bottom line is, it's up to the lender almost to go and find the victim, even if all the paperwork is lost. And I saw the Martin Lewis video on this today, and he was explaining that you need to become a complainant if you want this to go anywhere. And it does look like, I think probably the lenders will lose their appeal. And this is going to cost the car industry a lot of money. And the reason I bring this up is because obviously recent events, petrol is now going through the roof. Interest rates have not gone down. We're not going to be spending, we're not going to suddenly go into boom time. We're quite possibly just on the edge of a bit of stagflation. And I think this is probably the worst time for the industry to be kicked in the balls by a massive collective fine. And that's all I would say. I don't think people should missell. I think that, of course, we should, people who sell cars, I think in some ways do have a duty to their customers. And I think most decent people do, actually. But I think this is a very bad time for the industry to have to be fighting this. And that's really all I was going to say.
Thank you, Manish. Neil Clifford.
There's a new Lola.
Yeah.
There is.
And I really, really like the look of it. I think they're only making 16. It was designed actually by a friend of mine, Neil Ferrier, for Discommon. Neil lives in South Carolina.
Designed before that, though, wasn't it?
Well, of course, they've modernised it. It's a T70, but he's taken the original shape and helped make it a new car.
They haven't done it like that 355 thing a while ago we didn't like.
No. It's in the RAC at the moment, and it's just very, very beautiful. I mean, a Lola T70 is beautiful. So I suppose that the thing you have to do is not fuck it up, and he hasn't. It's beautiful, and Rule Britannia, basically, fucking great, lovely.
Chris Cooper in the news.
Well, I was going to mention the new Lola. Same as the old Lola, but better. Is it available in the shops, Neil, or is it only available to very, very special? They're all sold.
They're all sold. The only Lola that's available, email Manish.
That Lola's never for sale.
Put your offer in the comments.
No, they're all sold. I think.
Apparently,
16.
Apparently, that Lola might be for sale. Anything the price.
No.
So. I know I've mentioned this before, but I did want to mention this properly. It's now all signed, sealed, and delivered. It's public. Big launch the other week. The World Rally Championship is coming back to the UK in 2027 in Aberdeenshire in the northeast of Scotland. Rallying has come home. If you grew up like I did in sort of the 80s, the best rally drivers in the world all drove in the British Rally Championship, late 70s, early 80s, in Vauxhall Corvettes, Opel Mantas, Ford Escorts. Hannu Mikkola, Ari Vatanen, Stig Blomqvist, they all did it.
Roger Clark, is that before?
Roger Clark, 70s, yeah, he was won the RAC Rally in late 1976, I think it was, with Tony Mason in the famously Cossack-sponsored Mark II
I went to that in my school. I was 11 years old, my brother.
I mean, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. It works. We need to do that. We need to talk about when we were growing up, what was the stuff we bought on Monday because we saw it win on the Sunday. This is a bit of an in-joke.
Put it on the list. Not that bloody Google doc. I don't understand.
I was just about to say, there's a bit of an in-joke here. Manish, cover your ears for a minute. Manish is trying to drag us into the 21st century by having a Google doc we could all share. Neil and I just have a very long list that we cut and paste into our WhatsApp group. The cut and paste of a long list is one. Anyway.
I can't even do that.
The only thing I bought on a Monday in the 70s was a curly whirly, to be honest with you.
How much was that? Was it 2p?
10p.
10p, okay.
Yeah,
so
8.
I can't overemphasize how important this is, not just for the northeast of Scotland and not just for rallying, but for British motorsport.
I think if we talk about that enough, we might get invited.
Well, I obviously I'm involved with the governing body, and we've been following this. And the people in Bicester, and the management and leadership there, have done an extraordinary job with the City of Aberdeen Council, Aberdeenshire County Council, and the Scottish Parliament, and the FIA, and the F1 promoter, Simon Larkin. They've all been incredibly supportive. Malcolm Wilson, who is the Deputy President for Sport of the FIA, who's obviously a great rallyist, like David Richards, our chair, who was world champion in 1981 with Ari Vatanen. So I'm so pleased for David and for the sport.
Are we going to get invited?
So I'll make sure we can all go.
Please.
Yeah.
Can I bring that?
Oh, you've got to bring a rally car.
Hang on, you can't just do that. Show us that again.
So it's an Integrale Hot Wheels car with fancy wheels. Doesn't that look good? You wait till you see mine. It's magic. Now,
before we just move, just quick little.
You've had your turn.
No, sorry, just there was a little addendum to just an addendum to Chris's. So apparently, sorry. Apparently, Max Mosley back in the day was trying to, as the FIA took over rallying, he really wanted Bernie to go and attend a rally. So Bernie apparently drives out to a rally. He opens his door. He had a pair of Gucci loafers on. He takes his foot out. He puts it in this mud. He looks at the mud on his shoes, goes back into his car, pulls the door shut. I'm not promoting that, and drives off.
Yeah.
I can quite believe it.
Story is great. He read the Times in Pret-a-Manger opposite Harrods for 15, 20 years on the trot every morning. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
So the news for me this week is that I couldn't talk about what I wanted to talk about last week, which is this Aston Martin Valhalla, a video which all the videos went up on Monday at midnight. That's no Sunday midnight, Monday at 1 minute past, whatever it was. I always get confused by this. So I've not really been a big supporter of this car for several reasons, and we have slightly ridiculed it on this podcast for the following reasons. One, it's about a decade late. We've known about it for a long time. I mean, it had a cameo in its finished styling format in the Bond film, which came out in 2021.
Would have been 2020, yeah.
So it's been around a long time. And we knew about it before then. So Son of Valkyrie was a bit of a metaphor for the fact that Aston was in a bit of trouble. I think we also, understandably, thought that maybe Aston's future lay in a front-engined GT cars, and that no one really understood what a rival for an SF90 would be, or why Aston Martin needed to be there. I've driven it. I couldn't have been more wrong. It's
brilliant film, by the way.
That's very kind, but it's arguably the most impressive, very, very fast car I've driven in years. It takes a load of the technologies that all the others have been wrestling with and not quite managing to calibrate or refine or to turn into gobsmacking performance. And it does just that. It works on road and track. It's a finished product. It feels more finished to me than something like than the V8 Vantage I drove 2 years ago. And I thought this car was going to be launched as a bit of a quiet, a bit embarrassing. The SF90 has actually come and gone in the time that we've needed to launch this. Instead, I think it's a triumph. I think it shows that Aston Martin has a lot more life in it than we realise, and maybe we've been too cynical. And it also shows that if you've got, 3 million quid on an F80 Ferrari, this is not quite there, but it's much closer than it is to the performance of a 911 Turbo or something. This is different league. Incredibly refined on the road, very usable. It doesn't have a boot. I don't understand why modern cars have this at all. But if you drive on your own, the passenger seat's the boot, so don't worry about that. I just came away so impressed, and I came away feeling, frankly, fucking guilty that I didn't give it more of a chance beforehand. Statutory lesson, I'm too cynical, and I need to be more open-minded. So fair play to you, boys and girls at Aston Martin. You know who you are, and especially the person I had dinner with, who is very involved in the way it drives, whose name I won't mention. But Simon, you've done a fantastic job, and I'm immensely proud of all of you, because it can't have been easy over the last few years there to get that thing out the door. But it is world class and built.
It does look fantastic as well. It does look fantastic.
Oh,
you were right, Bennett, Chris, about why did they show it in that Aston green colour? For some reason, it doesn't work as well. The one that I saw at the Dick Lovely event earlier in the year, the Aston Martin Bristol, which was actually, that's a bit of car news. Aston Martin Bristol was announced as the best Aston Martin dealer in the world, which I thought was great. Well done them. They worked really, really hard. They're nice people who work really, really hard. Mike Kennefick, who runs it, and all his colleagues. And they brought along a Valhalla to Swindon, and it had nice silvers and greys and silver wheels. It was amazing. Looked lovely.
I'm in agreement, but I don't understand the launch colours, and I'm a bit done with the green, with the sort of yellowy bit, the AMR performance colours. Bit done with them, but ultimately, I don't trust me on aesthetics, because yesterday I wore a gilet for half a day inside out and no one told me. So let's move on to our next. Oh God, I've missed it. There we go. Where are you, little bugger? The next thing is now this came about because I've bought a few cars in the last year that haven't been as reliable as I might have wanted. I should have known full well they wouldn't be reliable, because no example of one of those cars at that age with that mileage has ever proved to be reliable. So why I thought I should be the exception to the rule, I don't know. But I was discussing with Neil, and I think to the wider group afterwards, that what you should do is budget 10% beyond what you've spent as the inevitable cost of just making the fucking thing get you home, probably, or maybe complete the journey after the one where you drive it home. So that means that if you buy a £30,000 car, you should probably have £3,000 set aside. But as I say it that way, 10% is nothing like enough. It should be more than that.
I thought you missed a number in your question.
Yeah, I know. So I'm going to go straight to Chris Cooper here and see whether he's ever been involved in this man-math situation where you convinced yourself you've bought a value car, but actually you know full well you're going to spend a good percentage of the purchase price again just to make it work.
Well, I sort of said something similar to this the other day when we did the car restoration thing. Do you mean it is possible to buy cars where you only need to budget an extra 10%? Can I buy one of those next time, please?
Yeah.
And I sort of think, is it because this is an interesting exercise, isn't it? And I'm probably guilty of this because I do like to buy a newer, sort of obviously nicer condition car because I'm generally risk averse and wary. So I'd rather get one I know is right. But there is something amazingly fun about making it right and knowing you've added to the gene pool of healthy cars that somebody would award 14 out of 10 because it's one of the goodest cars. We love dogs. You know, we talked about we rate dogs. Somebody who listens to this podcast has set up a website, We Rate Engines.
Yeah.
I mean, sir or madam, I think it's a sir. Congratulations. So the SL63 that I bought a couple of summers ago was an interesting exercise because I did probably think I'm going to have to spend a bit. So I went to
before you bought it. You mean?
If I'm honest, because it was a 10-plate car. I thought it's going to need a bit of love and attention, and it did. It needed bushes and some steering stuff. One of the suspension sphere things, a few things, a couple of tires, blah blah blah. Some little bit of was a gearbox bit needed doing. So I probably spent 20%. I bought it for 25, and I probably spent another 5 doing it. But now it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And it's sort of somewhere between 10 and 20. I think the advantage is, and this is the great bit about it, you know you've improved the world. You've enjoyed it. You've saved a car that the next person might say, do you know what? I can't do it. I'm not motivated enough. So, but I would like next time to get, if it is just an extra 10%, if either of you two, because it's basically going to be one of you two, sorry, Manish, the next time you see the third one of these a day where I only need 10%, just give me a call and, I'll dive in there.
Well, Manish spends 120%.
Well, no, I was going to say, this is time to neatly move on to the 170%.
That is true.
Who takes the value of the vehicle and then, my E61 M5 is going to definitely rival Lola by the end of this process. I'm pretty sure about that. But I've put 2 new engines, an interior, and all new suspension in it, and I still might not get there.
Have you? Are you going to do the DCT gearbox thing?
No,
that Darrow's doing.
Darrow wants me to do it. You've driven it. Tell us what you think of it.
It's a different car. I mean, I quite like.
God's sake!
I quite liked. I was an early adopter of the E60 M5. I had a 1.5 55 plate, so it was a late 2005 car, so quite an early one. Silverstone silver, grey thing, black leather. There's a roundabout, I won't say where it is, and in fact, it might not even be in the UK, Ossifer. Before they put traffic lights on it, it was the nicest car to balance in just a little bit of that's the angle, but that is the angle you adopt when you've just got it moving a bit. It was the
Are you saying the gearbox is shit or good? I can't work out what you're saying.
Speak amongst yourself, viewers. We're a broad church.
No, it's a genuine question.
I know it is. Should we go back to bullhorns? That's our common ground, you and me. Bullhorns.
Yeah.
That's fucking brilliant. But to be clear, how this DCT thing, did it make you go, that's really good?
Yes, 100%, instantly.
Oh, okay.
I don't want the bloody thing. I've got a car. I could probably buy a brand new M3 CS Touring for this.
I was going to say, how much more would it cost to get the DCT put in?
12.
10 grand. 10, 12 grand.
10 to you.
So then
I'd
have £150,000 E61 M5, which would be worth at least 20 in the trade.
Yeah, I think we're excused on that one.
It's a catastrophe of a car that I love to bits, and I haven't driven it in 15 months because it's still going. Anyhow, it's brilliant. We love this shit. Anyhow, I'm going to pass over to Manish with this with a little preface, which is this: you're the only one among us that has really only bought 2 cars, and your second car you bought, you didn't really give a shit about any of this. You just wanted your car the way you wanted it to be.
Correct.
And I don't think I've tried to do that with my E61, but I've got other cars, so I can be distracted. You just went, I want it to be like that, and when we all went, "Hey, gads, why would you do that?" You went, "Because I want it that way." Now, I think there's a purity of thinking there that you might need to help us with, because we probably should adopt it.
Yes.
Or some would argue a simplicity of thinking in that way. But so look, I just say, look, let's just put the upholstery aside and get back to the pure question, which is, somebody tells you, I mean, a lot of people said to me, don't get a 456 because effectively, yes, the mechanicals are fine, but all the auxiliaries are going to give you problems. They just are. That's what they did. And you've pointed out there's another tier to that, which is wait until the shoebox size electrics start to give you trouble. There is actually a company in California that I found that does replace these. So I am now half a millisecond ahead with that one. But the real question is, should I, just for my next, and even before we prospect onto my third car, should I find somebody who can put a manual gearbox in her just to go for complete perfection and put another 20 grand into it? Because then,
engineering.
I mean, can you imagine that? Then Lola with a 6-speed manual box, just
easily doable.
Yeah,
of course, they'd only have to rip out all of that upholstery.
No, not much.
Stick this huge thing in.
No, you wouldn't.
Be.
No, you
Wouldn't
wouldn't.
they?
Nope.
no.
I mean,
Cheap.
that's what you'd end up doing, but you wouldn't have to.
Well, look, all I'm saying is that, if I really thought I was going to be as in love with this car as I am, and I am, it isn't something that I consider as a really moronic or stupid thing to do. It takes her to that final level. I mean, you're talking about putting a DCT in to this Wundercar that Chris has got. I mean, why would I not consider putting a manual gearbox into her? Because then she's finished, basically. She is finished. There's nothing more to do. And then prospecting that, I've been, I can't help myself. There's probably half an hour a day I spend looking for my R107. I've had some very nice friends fire me quite a few links, and I've had a few other friends saying, "Are you sure you want an R107? Are you absolutely sure? Because there could be better ones." And other people have views on what better things. But I imagine when I sit inside her, it's the same feeling, I think, with the R107.
Huge gate.
When I sit inside Lola, and I hope that cabin, as I said, you can't see the outside of the car from the inside. What you have. Sorry.
I was going to say,
I didn't mean it.
Are we back to Clitheroe again?
No, we're not.
You guys are so puerile.
We're not at all, but Manish, you are currently inside her, so carry on.
When I sit inside my car, when I sit in the cabin of my car, and I inhale that leather, and I literally, my hands
you're
on that
doing this.
beautiful steering wheel. Possibly.
You have read Finbar Saunders in Viz, haven't you?
I have read Finn Russell.
Yes, okay. Well, you have just gone full fanar, as
No,
they say.
no. What I'm saying is that the R107, I would love that to be a commensurate experience. I've been looking at them and I've been thinking to myself, would I do anything differently for the next car? And the answer is no. And I'm sure it's not a purity of thought. I'm sure it's a simplicity of thought. I think, I'll never have 30 cars or plus like Neil or, 30 plus like you, 20. I mean, I'm going to end up with single digit cars, but wouldn't it be beautiful if when I croak, every single one of my single digit cars is about as perfect as I can possibly make that car.
Totally.
And that's the joy of this, that's the absolute joy. You sit inside, and no one who's seen Lola says to me, "You're mad, you're stupid, what the hell are you doing? You've got more money than that." No one says that. They go, "Well, you know what? I get it. I do get it. And I get it every time I get inside her." For nothing.
Mannish.
Chris, you've made me this person. I was a respectable doctor when I started doing this podcast.
Again, Manish has got straight on the Lady Petrol with ice. He's guzzling, so we apologise. Now look here. I think what this points to, and Manish, I just think hit the zeitgeist when he bought Lola, which is, who gives a shit about whether you lose a few quid on this stuff? It's ridiculous. There's no logic to any of this, and I think what Manish did is almost invites people to say, "Oh, but you're going to lose a load of money." So you can reply, "Who cares?
Yeah.
I'm doing this because I want to do it." It's not about that at all. And it's not. To be clear, it's not an outward display of losing money because you can. That's grotesque and uncouth. But it's the idea that what you want to achieve doesn't have a rule book, and it certainly shouldn't be judged by the rules of the market or car values. Neil Clifford, what do you think?
When we were talking about this, I can't remember the car you were talking about actually, but we actually, the figure was not 10%. If you remember, the figure was 10 grand. We were like, you get very deep very quickly, and I never, very naive, sort of. I know I'm being naive. I'm sort of lying to myself, basically. I'm sort of consciously incompetent. I know there's going to be more money to be spent, but I turn the other cheek. I ignore it. I pretend it doesn't happen. It's the ultimate man maths. When I stupidly buy a car, I convince myself this one's going to be perfect. This one's going to not need anything. So it's completely the opposite of Mr. Cooper. I recently bought a Galaxy, a bloody 1964 Ford Galaxy, which actually, there's a really good story to this, which I'm not going to tell now, but a really magnificent, brilliant story about this car's restoration. But I was convinced it was perfect, and actually it looks perfect. It really is an amazing restoration. It looks fabulous. And of course, in my little head, I bought it cheap, because you always convince yourself what an entrepreneur you've been. This, you're gonna be able to sell it, even though these cars, old Jaguars are the same. All the buyers are dying now.
Can I clarify one thing? When you bought this car,
yes,
you always conveniently forget that it's been for sale for 3 months. And the fact that it's been for sale for 3 months means no one else is looking to buy it apart from you.
Yeah, but no one has been smart enough to spot the value that is available in this Ford Galaxy. Now, so it arrives. My lovely friend Guy Broad picked it up from Coventry, bought it unseen, Saturday afternoon on the sofa, auction. What could go wrong? What really could go wrong? You're on the iconic auction website. You've watched Harry talk about it for at least 9 seconds. It's obviously going to be perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. And then Guy goes and picks it up on the Monday and says, "Actually, I think it's a good car. I think, but do you realise there isn't an exhaust? It's not actually got an exhaust
at all."
I'm like, well, they did say it was a little loud, There is no exhaust on the car. It has actually got a dragster exhaust. The exhaust is 1 inch long from the headers. You've got no chance of this thing ever passing even the most friendliest of MOT stations.
Yeah.
So now I'm having to build a brand new, a whole exhaust system, custom made for this bloody thing. And then I thought, okay, well, I'm doing the exhaust, and I'm going to get it sprayed that white heat resistant thing, like John Surtees' Honda.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Good
a
one.
white car. We're going to have a white exhaust. It's going to look so cool, rocking up to Revival. So then Graham, my good friend Graham, is doing it. And then I get this text message today. Hi, Neil. We do have a bit of a problem with the Galaxy. The rear main... this is true. I'm not making it up. This is my life. No, not that. Not that bad. The rear main spring, but I don't even know what these things are. The rear main spring bolts are damaged because the nuts have come off and damaged the thread. These are special bolts made for this anti-tramp kit it has on the rear.
Yeah, you need that.
Can you look through the history file and let me know who restored it so I can speak to them? I've spoken to MS Classic Cars in Miami because, of course, I made it really simple. This is cars come all the way from California, who sold it 2 years ago, but they couldn't really help me and weren't interested. Thank you very much.
Oh, shit.
I'll buy it from you.
Just before this podcast, I'm going through this book to find who made the bolts for this car.
Fantastic.
But it's a bit like, and of course this is a patronising thing to say because only women are allowed to say this. You forget the bad. It's like childbirth. You forget the pain. You've had an awful situation with a car, but then it's all gone. The next time you're on Car and Classics, or you got the sniff, or you got the itch for something, you're still the optimist. It's going to be perfect.
Wow, a perfect summary, and just shows how different our definitions are. Mine's different to all of yours. I have got a moth to the light bulb masochism about me here, in that I think I don't do this consciously. I think I enjoy the phone call to my specialist. I've got a man that sorts out all the different brands that I know. I enjoy that phone call more than buying the vehicle. I must know that when I buy an M car, I get to phone Dara and go, oh, this is wrong, because it starts the process again. And I've got another car to talk about and whinge about and make his life miserable with. And I can't help myself, to the point where I think if you gave me a fault-free used car, I'd be mortified. I'd be over the moon. Then I'd go, but there's no chat here. I've got no WhatsApp connection with anyone.
You might start customizing it. You might have done that.
Oh my God! I mean, it is beyond that masochism, which is different to yours. I think I want that contact. I think I use buying cars as a conduit to the world of mechanics and people that I love watching do their stuff. I find them a fascinating group of people.
Do you think
that could be true?
Do you think, because I've often thought this, when you turn on the television, there are umpteen programs about people doing what you've just described to houses. In fact, it's sort of all that people do with houses right now is that sort of thing. And talking about that, I meant to say this earlier on in terms of my week in cars. Is every house in the Cotswolds for sale on some charity thing on Instagram? When I go looking for cars and car nonsense, and all I find is you could win this house in. There must be no house not for sale in the Cotswolds right now, these things. But
I think that could be your algorithm.
Could be your algorithm, and be grateful for it. You could probably find a couple of big car dealerships there as well. So there's that side of it. But I've written the word certainty down here. When Mr. Cooper was talking, I don't have the benevolence he does. I don't really feel any great joy in improving the world by having my car leave my care better than when it arrived. I'm not that kind. My version is I like certainty. I'm not very good at doubt. And if, for example, you sell me a car and you say to me, it's a BMW, the Vanos has been done, the rod bearings have been done, everything's been done, but there's no real evidence of the fact that it was done or when it was done. In my head, they've not been done. and I'm going to do them anyway because I've had too many things blow up on me in my life. So when I talk about 10%, you're right, it's bollocks. It's 10 grand. So if I buy M cars, as I seem to do every other week, in my head, they're having rod bearings done, they're having the vanos done, they have everything that is on the checklist. I want to do it, and then in my head, I zero the mileage at that point. Then I can start again. Then I know the car works. Otherwise, at some point, it's going to shit itself because I didn't do the work. I have no idea who did what. And do I trust it? Probably not.
You've just reminded me of something that did happen, and it was you. When I bought that SL63, the first thing you said was cam chain.
Yeah.
So I went to, it's George Fraser, somewhere in Uxbridge, really, really lovely guy, specializes in old Mercs, usually got the Mauritian ambassador's S-Class outside. He actually, when I left it there once, he gave me the keys to the Mauritian ambassador's S-Class. He said, "Oh yeah, I always get those two mixed up. You and the Mauritian ambassador. I mean, you said cam chain." So I went down there and I said, "We need to look at the cam chain." He said, "No, it'll be fine." I said, "No, we need to look at it." So why? I said, "Because my mate told me to worry about the cam chain, and now I can't unworry about it. Please just take."
No, he did that to me. He did that to me because I found the most amazing BMW M3, I think E46, or what's the V8 one? 92. 92. If you remember, Chris, BMW.
Rod bearings. That was Rod bearings.
I'm like, it's non-metallic blue. It's convertible, but doesn't really matter. Lovely. No one's ever seen this car. I found a bargain. 40,000 miles. And then you're like, rod bearings. And I'm like, what the fuck's a rod bearing? I have no idea what a rod bearing is. This someone's name? Is this Mr. Rod Bearing? Who is this?
Rod bearing.
It's funny how you learn these things. The penultimate Top Gear film I ever shot, and it never got published, broadcast, was in Morocco. And we had a Bentley Continental GTC. We persuaded them to spend some money on some cars. And we're going to sell them. So the idea was I could drag them into an area where we weren't wrecking cars because they were too valuable to wreck. So everyone was winning. So we used budget to buy an SL63 like yours, and Conti GTC, a nice early one, and what the third car was. It was something nice, like an Aston V8 Vantage or something. Nice cars. We were in Morocco. And I said, I'd done a bit of research into my SL, and I said, just make sure that the engine's good on these because they can get very rattly top end, and the timing chain can stretch, and then you got problems. And so everyone was like, no, it's fine. They're tough as old boots. It'll be good. They didn't look into it. After day one, my engine went. So I blew one up. Absolutely went. And I had to spend the next day and a half pretending the car worked, and then we had to give it up and say no, his Merc's fucked. And there was a Golf GTI somewhere lying around, and I jumped into that. But it did. The reason I've warned you is I thought that M156 engine didn't have that problem, but the tensioner goes, and then the thing, you're done.
Yeah.
So and actually, when you see what it takes to actually do that remedial work, you think, why wouldn't you? Why would you? If it goes wrong, the consequences are £10,000. Why wouldn't you spend £1,000 just to not have it happen?
I've never really had an engine blow up on me ever, though.
Well, we know we all drive a bit differently, but I've had several go. If I like using them properly, and they do go. If you don't,
I don't use them properly, but they last longer.
Yeah, you honestly, you're in the right here, mate, in many ways.
Yeah.
Now you have just set yourself up in the most appalling way on a public forum.
That's such a bad vibe. That now.
What could possibly go wrong?
The Ford Galaxy 454.
You wait till you phone up for that F12 engine in warranty, and they go, "What's that? Is a warranty?" Warranty. He playing 66 the World Cup, no? Right. Let's. We're going to miss out.
He doesn't play in this World Cup. They got knocked out again.
They did. Look, we've got one more, which I'm going to pass over the next one to the next podcast because we're running quite long here. It's excellent fun, but I've got a chili con carne to eat, which looks very, very good. So let's go on to the Formula One.
Oh,
I'm going to go first on the Formula One. I haven't been
oh.
first yet today. I woke up in good time to watch the race, and I was, for the most part, very disappointed by what I saw. I don't enjoy the synthetic nature of the racing because I think there are lots of overtakes, but what it does is it does two things, this racing. First of all, it totally exposes the fallacy of judging the quality of racing by the number of overtakes you see in a race. That is no way to judge how good racing is. And second of all, if you overtake someone and they can overtake you straight back, straight away, it's almost like one cancels the other out. You start to forget who overtook who and how it works. You become quite confused. In fact, I was discombobulated for a while. If you overlay the recharging strategies and the fact that they are a bit mismatched on a lap with the tyre degradation story as well, it all becomes it is that paint palette of the 7-year-old child that starts out with yellow, red, crimson and something else, and 10 minutes in they've just got mud colour. So I was a bit lost with the whole thing. I didn't like, obviously, Ollie Bierman's incident, which, let's face it, many voices in the sport have absolutely predicted. And when that happens after a prediction, particularly Carlos Sainz, who deserves, I think, some accolades for being the most outspoken in all of this, he was proved right in an awful way. I just came away a bit hollow. I should have been over the moon that we have this young driver doing so well. I normally love that stuff. But I was the one trying to be very positive about this year. I really struggled with that as 2 hours of my time. I really did. I know they'll sort it out. I believe they'll sort it out. But for now, fucking hell. Sorry about that. Manish, you have a very different opinion, and I like that. Off you go.
But I don't have a different opinion. I think there's a sort of a kind of line, and it is, and I've said it before, I think there's Drive Survive, then I think there's a Formula One movie, and that's absolutely fine if that's product that people create to promote the sport of Formula One, and we know it's also a business, and we know it's entertainment, but it's it's an interesting Venn diagram, and for me the biggest circle in that should be sport. And commerce is incredibly important. But these are expensive things to produce. And once you start getting manufacturers in, you add a zero to everything. And then it feels to me like both of those have been pushed out by the entertainment clause in this. And if you were a casual viewer, you'd completely disagree with what you've just said, Chris. You'd just go, it's fantastic. Lando took Lewis at the chicane. Lewis got him straight back on the first corner. I saw the fight between Charles and Lewis, and it was fantastically close. And, and anyway, they're the same car, so it must be fair racing. And, it can't not be. And I think, I wrote 5 things down here, just 5 notes. I wrote dangerous as number 1. And this stuff does matter to me because my favorite driver, my absolute hero of all time, was killed racing. And it bothers me. It does bother me when I see things that are dangerous for no great reason. But more importantly, before Senna died, he said half a dozen times to half a dozen reporters, these cars are dangerous. It's going to be all right.
I really don't want to interrupt your flow, but you said something that's really important. I want to get your view on it. In 1994, after Imola, when Roland Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna died, Max Mosley was the FIA president, and lots of views about who he was as an individual and so forth. But as a result of that, at the Belgian Grand Prix that year, he put cones in Eau Rouge because he was so worried. Do you think, in your mind, we're at that point here?
Yes, I do. And I'm finding this a bit uncanny. What actually happened, and there are lots of good and bad things about Max, and I don't want to make this story about Senna, but actually what a lot of people are forgetting is that before the 1994 season, when people were testing these 94 cars, just to give them a little bit of context, in 1993, cars were full of electronic aids. They had lots of things that stopped them spinning off, doing this and doing that. And what happened was in 1994, to make it a driver's formula again, all of these electronic aids were removed. They were just all removed. But what they didn't do was make the engine smaller. What they didn't do was totally change the circuit layout. So what you had were effectively super fast cars on circuits that had existed for ages with no modifications at all to any of the circuits. And then what happened was people drove these cars and went, oh, goodness me, these are very, very hard to drive. In fact, dangerous. Actually, just to correct you, Max Mosley didn't change everything when Senna and Ratzenberger died. Sadly, it took Carl Wendlinger's accident at Monaco to do it. Okay, and that's the point. The point is, so I'm just going to go back. When somebody is smart as Andrea Stella, when somebody is, in my opinion, the most intelligent driver in Formula One is Carlos Sainz. I talk about this all the time. He is just, for me, he is just the ultimate test pilot. I would drag him into my team as a driver. You know, I think Ferrari wouldn't have half the problems they had if they still had Carlos. Because Carlos, I mean, first, he's got the perfect genetics, apart from maybe Max. Secondly, he's just got this amazing brain. Thirdly, he is so quick. He kept Max honest. There aren't that many people who've kept Max honest. It's taken Hadjar to do this. But these guys are all saying, when you press this super duper duper massive 350 kilowatt button, you will at some point do that when the guy in front of you, not because he's chosen to slow down, not because he's lifting and coasting, but because an algorithm on a computer has worked out that that is the best place for his car to slow down to harvest energy, they will have a closing speed that is really, really scary. And I saw that accident. First, like all of us, we didn't really know what happened. We just saw the car in the Armco. Then afterwards, when you watch the replay, Colapinto's car is harvesting. There are double flashes. You see it flash, you see it flash again. Some people are criticizing him for slightly moving into the middle of the track. He wouldn't have, he would have gone, oh, is it harvesting? He would have been just looking in his mirrors, trying to take the best line for him. But the bottom line is, Ollie is not an idiot. If anything, he's proven he is an absolutely top draw driver. I mean, a fantastic driver. And for that guy to have to take to the grass and go through those meter boards, those polystyrene meter boards, and lose it in that way, I mean, I think you know, it's like, it's just got to be the top priority. How you can have, when I was a kid, Nelson Piquet and Nigel Mansell used to have a turbo boost button on their Williams, and they could have it. It cost them a bit of fuel, but they had the best engine management system. So in the end, it didn't cost them maybe as much fuel as it would have cost somebody like Senna, but they could press the button, and just for a short period of time, I think they got somewhere between 50 and 60 horsepower. This button gives you probably 5 times that for a second or two. It's an enormous amount of power. That's why these guys are wheel spinning coming out of corners. You know, they press a button, they've got almost an unmanageable amount of power. And everybody's just been saying, you know, you got to watch these closing speeds. You got to watch these. Imagine that happened at Monaco. Where would he have gone? Where would he have gone? He's going to, let's just say he's going into Tabac. You know, he's going in very, very fast. The guy in front of him derates slightly. Where's he going to, or they come out of Saint-Devote, they're going up the hill. You know, he decides, yeah, I'll do a little squirt here. And then the second point is just what Lando said about his skirmish. He said with Lewis, he said that he lifted going into 130R. So the left-hander before the chicane. He said, but he did press his super duper button before he did that. He lifted to get through the corner, but then he found the power was still coming. So he came out of the corner. He didn't mean to overtake Lewis. The power was so great, he just drew up alongside him, got through the chicane. Then when he was on the straight, because Lewis had a different power algorithm, Lewis went flashing by. That looked great on television. But imagine being the driver and going, oh, I didn't mean to do that. My car did that. And then the next corner, you pay for it.
Yeah,
I think so. And this is, so listen, I don't mean to be negative, but they need to sort this out. This just needs to be sorted out. There are 5 weeks to do it. You know, you just, in Formula One, you shouldn't have closing speeds of 35 miles an hour, close to 50 kilometers an hour. You just shouldn't have them. You just shouldn't. You know, they get to learn. Sorry,
before we pass on to Chris Cooper, I want to just challenge one thing, because you used a fabulous phrase there. unmanageable amounts of power. Now, I don't have a problem with that. I like the best drivers in the world to have unmanageable amounts of power because they should be able to manage it. It's that in combination with the harvesting. So if they all just had 2,000 horsepower and skinny tires, great racing.
Yep.
But you cannot have that if at any point in time one of their competitors could be trying to charge their batteries up. That's the thing they can't do, and they can't remove one without the other, and they have to remove one, and that has to be the unmanageable power because they've got to keep the regen, otherwise there'll be no electrical power. So all they can really do is slow the cars down.
Well, what they're saying is that if that becomes boring, what they'd have to do is change the aero rules, so then they could become driver-operated aero. Because at the moment, remember, the wings flip up all by themselves when they go into a corner. So what you'd do is you'd have a button that would allow you to kind of go, we don't have maximum downforce, so if you're on a faster corner, you can have slightly less wings, so you can push it a bit. The thing is that I think I wouldn't mind any of this if some people hadn't boxed themselves in with this silly marketing phrase, 50% electric, 50% ICE. Why not 70-30 or 80-20? You know, Formula One doesn't have to be a slogan. It's been around motor racing has been around for 100 years. And I get it. I get the commerce. I really do get it. You know, we can have carts powered by elastic bands and go and see them every Sunday and see how that goes. And I get there wouldn't be a global audience for that. But I'm just saying that we had a formula that was pretty close last time around. You know, I complained about the size of the cars, etc. I agree the cars are prettier now. I think there's no doubt getting rid of all of that downforce underneath the cars makes the whole thing much more exciting. It's lovely to see somebody coming out and almost, opposite lock in Formula One. It's beautiful. It reminds me of those photos of the 60s. But this balance, this fundamental balance between electricity and petrol, that's the root of the problem here. And it would be an easy fix, I think. It would be, or not an easy fix, but it would be a grown-up fix to turn around and say, look, use a bit of electricity, but mostly use an internal combustion engine, and we'll find a way to market this so it works.
I think, yes, a lot to absorb there, but I agree with quite a bit of it. Chris Cooper.
I'm sort of with you. For me, the spell's broken. You know what you're watching isn't everybody on maximum go, or even just, they've got to save the tyres, but they're all trying as hard as they can. That spell is broken, and it's heartbreaking, really, because, I didn't watch the race because I thought, I know what I'm watching now, and it's sort of, Max is right. And for him, the spell's broken, which is why when you see him at the ring, he was there again this week testing for the next VLN race, NLS race. And
he's loving it.
Absolutely. And there's quite a few clips on social media, and he's just another person loving racing with some other people in his team, the teammates and the team members, blah, blah, blah. He's at the ring, he's having a great time. Slightly different level in skill and capability, but that just reminded me of all the fun times we had there. It's just that racetrack, all that fun. And there's Max. He's one of us. So when Max says, honestly, I know people say I'm grumpy because I'm racing at 7th place. If I enjoyed it, I'd like it. It's got to be fun. And for him,
if he was in a Mercedes, he wouldn't be saying it, though, would he?
Well, he says he would be. And I have to say,
I think he would.
He's 4 times world champion. He doesn't need to win again. And that's the art. Toto's been over. Toto's clearly trying to get him out of the Red Bull because he wants him in a Merc F1 car next year. That's pretty transparent.
Yeah.
But, Chris, you've met him. We haven't. My sense is he's actually a reasonably uncomplicated kind of person when it comes to cars and driving. He's saying what he's feeling.
Can you imagine in the post-race press conference, if he'd won the first 3 by sort of 25 seconds, you could imagine his that was easy. What's the next question? Boring. He would say that. You'd see it in his face. You'd see it in his, fighting to win is, Senna used to say it, nothing to me has ever come easy. That's what makes life worthwhile, working hard for something.
I think Prost found it quite easy, didn't he, at times?
Pushing yourself. Sorry?
Prost found it quite easy at times, though, didn't he? Beating Senna.
He was good. He was good.
He didn't make a fuss about it.
I think it's interesting because Max actually has demonstrated a lot of the time that he loves winning by a margin and not having people come anywhere near him. So it's complicated. We can never hypothesize, can we? But yeah, the best driver, when your sport is about to lose the best driver because they're not enjoying it, it's quite strange that not many other sports have that, because not many sports have such a dependence on the technology that they're working with. You know, people at the top of their game don't tend to just go, you know, I'm giving up tennis. I don't like it anymore. That doesn't happen very often, does it? Footballers might have an injury, but they don't normally wake up and go, nah, I'm done with this. It's shit. So you know, it's another complication of the sport. Neil Clifford, did you watch it? You did watch it because we were communicating.
I did watch it. You know what? I have to really bow to you guys on all of this, because when I watch it, I'm really the analogy of what Manish said. I've I've learned really that I've got this sieve in my brain that quite a lot of things I don't take really much interest in.
Yeah.
And I thought it was because I was a bit thick when I was a kid, but actually, I've worked out that I only really take in things that I really care about that much, and I just don't get this technology thing. When I watch it as a real layman, the racing, as you said, Manish, does look quite good. So it's sort of designed for people that really aren't really into the technology or the detail of how they're driving, or in fact like driving on a track at all. So I'm total the spectator in a very shallow knowledge point of view. And in that respect, if you did an A/B test of this year, last year, and put a couple of Muppets like me to watch the Formula One in 25 and 26, you would say 26 was better.
Yeah.
I suppose maybe because it looks more sporty.
It
but
does.
Clearly there are and I still don't really understand the cars or all of that. But if it's dangerous and you're not getting the best out of the drivers, it's a bit of a problem. So I have to sort of acknowledge that you guys are flagging a very valid issue that hopefully FIA, Formula One deal with.
I think they are. A few things happen.
Yeah,
I can't say.
Of course,
this is where this sounds terribly arsey to say this. There were a number of communications on Sunday about, particularly in the aftermath of Ollie Bim's awful accident. Fortunately, he's fine. So I think, I think it's beyond deniability that there's an issue.
Two-car garage this week. You're a professor of automotive design who's been penning cars for 50 years. Your perfect era was the 90s through to the early noughties. Your university has asked you to choose two iconic coupe designs from this era with which to educate your newest students. These coupes should have flourishes that you can feel and explain. Choose stylishly. Budget, brackets, you aren't teaching at a private university, of £30,000. You'll make your choices from Car and Classic, where I am now spending so much time, I'm actually going to speak to my therapist about what's going on. So let's start with Chris Cooper.
I think coupes are they're all 14 out of 10.
Yes.
Yeah.
The first one,
great genre.
The first one is a 2000. It's not quite early noughties, but it's a 150 version of the XKR coupe. It's just perfect. It's got all the right proportions and stance, and the length of the bonnet, and the angle of the boot, and the angle and the slide of the haunches. I think that's just your professor of loveliness in coupe design. I think would love that. And the other one, actually, in fact, Philly and I have been talking about one of these. The Shark Nose. The Shark Nose 635. So the Jag starts auction sometime just after Easter. This one will be 3 days after Friday. This will be this will come to the gavel, to the block, but just that 635, that shape, how you could do a degree course.
You could
in that.
Yeah, you could, but how you get both of those for 30 grand?
I was wondering that.
Yes, I'm a little confused by the Jaguar.
But again, if you live in Cooperland, it doesn't apply. You see,
You just got to believe.
Manish, how are you going to spend 80 grand?
I found a 2007 Maserati Grand Sport.
Yeah, I nearly did that as well.
Yeah.
No, I think you'd probably get it for £20,000, and I think I completely agree with everything you said. I think it's about the proportions of the bonnet to whatever the kind of quasi boot is, how long that front windscreen is. But I also think the back window is critical. The shape of the back window.
He's obsessed with back windows. He's obsessed with back windows, and they're wrong on the 456.
Well, yes, exactly. But that is a very perfect back. The best back window in a coupe ever, if you want to know, is the Berlinetta Boxer. If you just have a stare at that, the straight line, it goes down like this, it comes back. It's perfection. That's the most beautiful back window.
Are we in metaphor territory again, or is this literal, Manish?
No, it's literal. But Neil Clifford's face went, I never thought of it that way, and I've got one.
Now, so that was the easy one. Now, this is the more subtle university design course, because take a blocky car and really make it look elegant. And for me, it is this rather beautiful 2000 Audi A3. It's the S3. Now, I think that's a really gorgeous piece of blocky design.
It's a fucking hatchback.
No. It's a
Manish, show it to me again so I'll give you an objective opinion. Show it to me again, please.
Okay, here we go.
That's a fucking hatchback.
Just listen.
There's one cool that owns an Audi A3, for fuck's sake.
It's a design exercise. The proportions of this car, I think it looks better than a Mark IV Golf. Same time, same platform.
It looks better than white
totally does.
I love this. This is answer whatever question you want time.
What do you mean by it? It's a beautifully balanced car. It's a beautifully the S3 from 2000.
The Audi S3 Coupe. I'm just going to phone Volks Ingolstadt now and find out if they ever made one. So Manish has gone Audi and Maserati. Neil Clifford, what are you going for?
Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, come on.
Under £30,000.
Yes, plenty under 30.
That's the thing.
You're right. From the headlamp.
Is that 30 plus 10 grand?
The weekly headlamp replacement.
Just add 10 grand after. We're not adding the 10 grand after in the 2-car garage.
How it works.
It doesn't need to work. The car doesn't need to work. It's a pure design exercise. You're right.
But honestly, I was so wrong about this car came out, because it was all a bit property developer and footballer, wasn't it?
A little bit, yes.
We were blinded, because it's the perfect coupe. It's got all. I could actually do this professor thing, because it's got all of the elements of all the classic Bentleys all in one car, but done with such an integrated beauty. It's bloody fantastic, and actually quite rare in red. And then coupe. You know what? I've gone 70s, even though I can't, because the thing was, I think an underrated car of my childhood, I dreamt of one, I never had one, is the Capri.
That's a good shape Capri. He's showing us a red early Capri.
Early Mark 2.
Mark 2.
Mark 2. Maybe you're right.
Mark 1 had a smaller back window.
Yeah.
And round headlamp.
What a bit. And
the back window is critical, Chris. It's critical.
They're such good value Capris now. This is a 1600L and it's £24,695.
Wow.
No, ridiculous.
So you spent 60 grand as well. What's the point in having rules here?
Look at that.
No, the wheels look a little bit small, but apart from that.
Why? Okay. I've actually for once adhered to the rules. I look like an absolute mug here.
Come on.
So the story of car design, of the last 3 decades would not be in any way complete unless you included the man that designed this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's
Bangle.
Z4M Roads, Z4M Coupe as designed by
Chris Bangle.
Bangle.
Chris Bangle. So the reason I'm doing this is I've actually imagined the role, and that is one of university professor. You'd get the chance to invite Chris Bangle to come and speak. By some margin, the best public speech I've ever heard from anyone in the motor industry was given by Chris Bangle.
Wow.
Really?
His talk on his approach and the fundamentals of vehicle design and the effects they have on society was profound for me. It was absolutely amazing. Ironically, it was given in Mercedes-Benz's centre in Brooklands after he'd left BMW. It's probably one of those, but it was amazing. So you'd have to invite him along to then explain what went on here with the Fiat Coupe Turbo, because that was also
I like them.
as well.
I like that.
But I every 5 years I change my opinion on it. For 5 years I think it's brilliant, and then I see one and I go, "What the fuck happened there?" And I can't. So I can't. I do this with
It's
it.
very, very wheel size dependent, that car. The non-turbo version with the smaller wheels doesn't work.
Yeah, but that's a 20 valve with the
25
big wheels.
with the bigger wheels is proper.
$7,000 for that. Done 74,000 miles. Other one was 25. I'm $2,000 over, and I've got the educational element into my story as well. You lot are a shambles.
I have to say you won
You've
that
not
one.
even
You
read
won
the
that.
brief. I know. Next week we're going to be choosing SUVs, and Manish is going to choose a Ferrari 296. Right, here we go. Let's choose some music. Let's choose some. Manish, redeem yourself with some music that makes you look very intelligent.
No, it's not going to make me too. Hopefully, it's going to make me come across to our audience as very empathic. I went to see Project Hail Mary, and could I just beg everyone listening to this podcast, and I'm going to actually slightly break this down into the sexes, could I beg every male that listens to this podcast to go and see that film? Men need to go and see this
99% of our listeners.
Exactly, and bring your female or male other half partner to this, but men need to go and see this film. This film is about loneliness. It's about male mental health. It's about talking. It's about working together with people who may or may not be like you to make a real difference. And the hero is the greatest profession, in my opinion, of all, which is a teacher. The hero of this film is a teacher, one of the two heroes, and teachers are heroes. And it's a beautiful film about a teacher who has to go into space to save the world. And it's the best film I've seen in 5 years. It's that good. And go and see it on a great big screen. And the soundtrack absolutely blew me away. It's written by the composer Daniel Pemberton. It's mostly choral. It's very beautiful. And the track I want to pick from this is called You Were Loved, brackets burial. And it's such an emotional, massive, perfect piece of music. It is this podcast. It is the deep structure of this podcast as a space movie. Please go and see it. I beg of you.
Nice.
Wow.
It was all believable until that last sentence.
Oh.
Right, let's go for Neil Clifford.
Driving a convertible at night in the cold with the heater on, and if you've got heated seats on, is one of the most wonderful things you can do. And playing Hello Earth by Kate Bush.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So it's the second to last track actually on that amazing album Hounds of Love, and it takes you right up into the sky.
I like that. I'll have that one on tomorrow. Chris Cooper.
I've chosen a different kind of music and noise this week. I have. Last year we did a track day at Thruxton, and we had lots of lovely cars in there and lots of noise. This year we've gone one better. Saturday the 6th of June, another event. Saturday the 6th of June, Thruxton have very, very, very kindly and extra specially allowed us to have a no noise limit day. If you have an F1 car, you can bring it. Literally, you can run what you brung. There's no limit at all to what you can bring on the day. So
a Galaxy 500 with no exhaust.
A Galaxy 500 with no exhaust would be most welcome.
If you can find the right suspension bolts.
Yeah. Chris and I will be doing fast laps and stuff. We're hoping to have some really, really, really special stuff. If you've got really special
Can I
stuff,
do slow lap?
come along. Sorry, Neil?
Can I do slow laps?
You can do slow laps.
Yes, you can.
We'll have a special lunchtime break that everyone can watch the 35 minutes your lap will take.
I'm going to bring the Galaxy.
You've got to bring the Galaxy. It'd be brilliant.
You've got to bring the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Brilliant. We're going to have we'll have a barbecue. We'll have meals during the day. There'll be other special merch. All four of us will be there. Chris and I are doing some fast laps and stuff, and a podcast in the evening on the track. Thruxton. Go to thruxtonracing.co.uk. Put the link in the thing.
Nice.
6th of June. Right. Queens of the Stone Age, Better Living Through Chemistry. Go and listen to that as an intro to a song. If you want to drive slowly, do not listen to anything by that particular band. But that song, wow. I've forgotten how bloody good it is. And that was a marathon podcast. So housekeeping covered. T-shirts next week, limited release, 100 units only. Look at Instagram pages and stuff to find out where they are. Jaguar event, 23rd of May. Buy a ticket, bring your Jaguar. Otherwise, I'm going to get hassle off Cooper. Thruxton, 6th of June. It's called the HOWL, which is named after the noise that Lear made when he finds out that Cordelia's popped her clogs. Sign up, bring your F1 car. I really enjoyed that. That had everything. Bernie, it had silliness, and it had some heartfelt stuff as well. Tune in next week for more tosh around cars.